Please welcome Mary Ann Hughes.
Picture a room full of candlelit tables for two. Couples enjoying a romantic dinner, laughing, talking. You might think it's a restaurant and date night, but it's actually a church hall at a respite event for parents of children with disabilities. For a few precious hours, volunteers watch our kids in another room, giving us something incredibly rare: time to reconnect. A speaker takes the stage to speak about strengthening marriages. Then she shares a statistic that stops us cold. Nearly 80% of marriages raising a child with special needs end in divorce. I remember thinking, that will never happen to us. My husband and I loved each other and our sweet boys, who happen to be on opposite ends of the autism spectrum. They look so much alike, but their personalities and abilities were so different. Our older son, with the sweetest smile, needed our help to navigate the world with his ongoing struggles with language and behavior. Our younger son also needed our help, but in different ways. Our boys were our world. We were happy and would be married forever, or so I thought. About a decade later, unexpectedly, after 21 years of marriage, divorce did become a reality. I couldn't believe this was happening to our family. I went through so many emotions, from shock and disbelief, anger and sadness, but I couldn't let grief consume me. My boys needed me, now more than ever. I had to figure out how to care for them, protect them, comfort them, reassure them, and figure out how I was going to meet their needs ongoing in the future as a single mom. Children on the autism spectrum need stability and structure, and our world was in upheaval. Our eldest child, his anxiety increased, his behavior regressed, just after we worked so hard on helping him feel safe again after flooding in Hurricane Harvey. Our younger son also struggled, since he thrives on predictability and structure, and suddenly our world had so many unknowns. So to help them cope, I created a divorce social story, a simple narrative with words and pictures to help reassure them that they were still loved by both parents, as well as prepare them for what to expect in their new normal. Our children were our world. And so I had to figure out what was I going to do to help them through this process. As a mom, I was always their mom, was their advocate as well. And that role wasn't going to change now. Who do you advocate for? A child, an aging parent, yourself. Sometimes in life, when we face difficult times, we have to step up and advocate, even when it's hard. That's what I had to do. My business background from before I was a stay-at-home mom came back, and I approached divorce as a project plan, one that focused on the future and next steps, rather than focusing on the past and what was gone. My ex used to joke that I always needed a project. Well, this became the mother of all projects. For more than 2 years, my time was spent trying to figure out what my children needed, how to navigate divorce, specifically one with children with special needs. What I found was that divorce, when you have a child with a disability, could look very different in terms of the amount, the duration of child support, as well as needing to plan for the future. And that's when I realized a project plan wasn't enough. I had to think bigger. My divorce required a life care plan, one that looked at their needs beyond the age of 18. But my children were becoming 18. One had just turned 18, and the other one, just a little bit less than 2 years younger, was about to turn 18. And so I had to figure out how to plan for the future. So I was dealing with not just a divorce, but also transition planning and financial planning. It was a lot to handle, and I couldn't do it all alone. I finally found experts to help. And together, we worked to find ways to support my children, and we did have a very positive outcome for my children after the divorce. But I didn't want other parents to have to go through all the trouble I did and rewrite the wheel. It required so much energy, time, and persistence to get to where I did. And so I decided that's how I found my calling, or perhaps it found me, to become a special needs divorce coach, to support families who have a child with a disability or they're going through divorce, to help put the child's needs at the center. Parents would say to me, "Oh, I wish you were around when I was getting divorced." So I knew I was on the right path. But the words that meant most to me were from my son, who said, "Mom, you're like a different person now. I'm so proud of you." He saw how hard I worked. He saw my passion, my commitment, and how I handled myself with grace through a challenging season. And he saw that I reinvented myself and did something new. And even other children, like my other son, who don't have the words, they can still see and feel and hear what's going on. So when we're faced with adversity, we can choose to step up and advocate for those we love. And I had to think back to how I got through this process and how to help others. So I came up with a framework called RISE, where each letter stands for different things to say and do during the process. Where R stands for remember, I is investigate, S is for support, and E is for embrace. Remember who you are. Think back to when you felt strong, confident, ready to take on the world. That person is still there. So whatever challenge you're facing, summon that person, and they're there for you. I, for investigate. It's hard to know what to ask for, or choose, or negotiate on any high-stakes decision until you understand the needs, the options, and the implications of each of those choices. So be sure to do your homework and your research when you're trying to advocate for your kids to get a good result. S is for support. It's hard to go through change and difficult times alone. Having support can bring clarity and help us make better decisions. That could look like professionals helping you navigate complex situations, or it could be family, friends, or someone who's been where we are now to help us navigate and walk down that path and let us know that we're not alone. Who could you use right now in your life for support, depending on what you might be facing in your life? E is for embrace the future. We don't plan for unexpected things to happen that change the course of our lives. But we don't want to look back on the past and what could have been or hope would have happened. Instead, we want to focus on the future, on our new path, and what we can do to create a great future that we deserve so ourselves and our families can thrive in the future. So through my process, I advocated for my children. I stepped up and I became stronger through the process, and I discovered my new purpose. So I invite you to look at who you can advocate for, what you can advocate for, and maybe help somebody who can't advocate for themselves to help them find their voice. We may go through different phases in life, different seasons, different challenges, but the important thing is to know that we can get there. All we have to do is rise.